Good evening, everyone. My name is Milestone, and I am the Vice President of the West Garfield Park Youth Council. And we believe that we are the solution to the issues in our community. Our theme is Nothing With Us Without Us. The West Garfield Park Youth Council is sponsored by Fathers Who Care, which is a nonprofit organization located on the west side of Chicago within the West Garfield Park community. Again, everyone, my name is Milestone, and I am the Vice President of the West Garfield Park Youth Council. The West Garfield Park Youth Council is comprised of 15 young people from our community whose focus and concern is youth leadership and a voice within the community to reduce senseless violence and illegal substance abuse. We invite people from all over, especially young people, to come in and see what we are all about. Our show will be scheduled every Thursday at 7 p.m. Again, that is every Thursday at 7 p.m. Our show can also be viewed online at www.cantv.org/hotline. Again, that website is www.cantv.org/hotline. Well, everyone, I would like to introduce my guest, Principal Anderson. He is the principal at Michele High School, and if you want to introduce yourself, you can.
So first of all, let me just say I am so excited to be here. This is awesome. It's always exciting when you have one of your students that is taking you through and teaching you some things. So I'm the principal of Michele Clark, located on the great west side of Chicago in the Austin community, where we soar and we are eagles, and we continue to soar high as eagles.
And it's always a great day to be an eagle.
And it's always a great day to be an eagle.
Okay, so during the next 25 minutes, we are going to discuss how to educate, engage, and empower young people from high-risk communities. So today's topic again is on how to educate, engage, and empower young people from high-risk communities. And now I have a few questions for Principal Anderson. So who are you and what is your purpose for existing?
So being Charles Anderson from the West Side, I'm a product of the West Side. The other thing that I would say is that my greatest gift that I think for existence is how do I help those that come behind me. Mm-hmm. I never wanted to be someone on the West Side that just came, took, and then didn't feel like I need to come back. So after I finished everything, it was a real duty of mine to come back and make sure that students got a chance to do things that I didn't get afforded to do as a kid. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking all the time, I say to my students all the time, when I was a student, I can't tell you anything about my principal. I can't tell you their names. I can't tell you anything. So one of my big goals for existence is to make sure that they always know me as the principal, but also know that they can always count on me for whatever they need.
Okay, I agree. I agree. So what kind of things can we do in our community to engage our young people and save lives?
So when I think about engaging our young people, one of the biggest things I think about is something that we don't always do, but it's listen. Mm-hmm. Because our young people will tell us what they need if we just stop and listen. I think too many times we try to tell them what they need versus allowing them to tell us what they need. And so I think the biggest thing that we can do for young people, you can't guide somebody if you don't even know where they're trying to go to even try to match them together. So I think the biggest thing we can do is listen to young people and then figure out how does that work with the plan and help them see the plan so that we can all swim together. Mm-hmm. Versus I'm swimming one way and trying to make you go, yep, but I'm swimming that way so that you will be able to say that's the way we all going together.
Yeah, because they don't want to feel like they being trapped into doing something they don't want to do, you know?
Absolutely.
And then they try to, it's a lot of stuff that they try to do to try to get your attention and be like, oh, they try to give you signs of where they trying to go, but it's like some people don't listen because they so stuck at where they want them to be instead of focusing on where the kids want to be. And that's what a lot of kids need. They need people to listen to them so that they could feel like they being heard and they feel like somebody actually cares, because it's a lot of people who they feel like don't really care. You know? And
I'll add to that, ensuring that you care, you have to not be judgmental. Mm-hmm. And so when I say not be judgmental, there are people who forget that back in Africa how we danced, and so we'll compare how maybe the kids are dancing now and say, oh, that's not a good dance. Mm-hmm. But we have to be able to go with the times too to be able to explain that. And so we can't look down on something that a young person is feeling or thinking, but we need to be able to validate it in order to help. Right. An old proverb says that you can't before you can cook a fish, you first have to clean it. Mm-hmm. And so we want to clean, by getting you hooked with us and partnering with us, so then we can learn how to cook together.
Right. So what does it mean to empower young people?
So to empower young people and to empower anybody is to give them the tools that they need to feel like they can do it. When you feel like you can do whatever's standing in front of you, then you become empowered to do it and you become more successful. That empowerment also becomes celebrating milestones. So each time you hit a spot, we celebrate it and not just overlook it. So yes, when you're in elementary school, 8th grade is the big goal. But prior to that, what did you do leading up to that we could have celebrated? Once you get in high school, yes, we want you to get your diploma, then we want you to go on to some type of post-secondary opportunities. But on the way, what do we celebrate? Right. So I would really like to take this moment to even just celebrate you for doing this. I mean, this is amazing. This is amazing of young people reaching other young people. This is amazing that you're willing to use your talents at this age and not be afraid to hide them. And that's what empowerment is. Cheering you on as you go to those places, and then we keep going higher and higher for each one.
Yep, I agree because I've been empowered a lot, and it's like I've been empowered to do stuff that I never thought I'd want to do, like being an engineer. Like I've recently seen, like, I think I could do that, but I've always been stuck in the mindset, oh, that's too hard, oh, it's too much. You gotta work with computers, and you gotta learn too much, you gotta study too much. But it's like, if I was to keep going and be like, oh, this too hard, I'm finna not do it, or that's too hard, I'm finna not do it, I'm limiting my opportunities. And it's like I've been reached by so many people, and I've been like offered so many opportunities and stuff like that. So it's like I've been able to see a lot of stuff. So I've been like, okay, I need to like go out more, and I need to like learn that I could do whatever I put my mind to, and whatever I work hard to get to, I'm gonna be able to do that. So it took a lot of like, you know, me actually listening and me looking into stuff for me to actually see that, instead of being stuck in the mindset of like, oh no, I'm not going to do that because like that's too much, you know.
Yep. And I would also say to you, continue to celebrate each milestone. I think sometimes we get so hard on ourselves because we're like, oh, I didn't make it on that. But we forget all the things that we did so well, and we forget to celebrate ourselves with those. Right. And so when we empower youth, I also say to parents, make sure you celebrate everything that they do, because they could be doing something on the opposite side as well. And
it's going to make them feel better. It's like if you celebrate something so little, it's going to make them feel like higher about themselves, and it's going to make them feel like, oh, it wasn't even that serious, and my mom is like encouraging me to keep going, and I didn't even make that big of a step. So it's like when they make that bigger step, they're going to feel like real good about themselves, and they're going to be happy that they, you know, kept going with doing what they were.
And I'll throw this last piece in before you go to the next question. The great thing about that is that that's how you create generations. So if we're doing it for you as a child, and then you start having children, you do it for them, and we continue to learn how to celebrate each other. And when we celebrate each other, it kills a lot of that time of us killing each other, putting each other down, not feeling good enough, because we're always looking for ways to celebrate each other.
Right. So why is it important to educate and engage our young people from high-risk communities?
So it's important to engage our young people in higher-risk communities is because they're our future. And they're part of the change that we need. Right. When we talk about change, we always think about, let me make the change, but we always forget about the people that need to be a part of that change. And as I said earlier about wealth, about generations, it becomes, if we can change one person, and then we start changing people within that family, we start changing how that whole generation will go. Right. So if a family feels that they're blessed, they feel wealthy, they feel like they're moving towards something, they're celebrating, that changes that family. But then what happens, that spills over into the block, to the neighborhood, to the community, and then before you know it, we have wealthy communities, and we're not looking to someone else to do for us, but we're able to do ourselves, and we don't have to go over to another neighborhood to get grocery or go over to another neighborhood to feel appreciated, but we learn how to build that within our community so that we're able to be great together.
And then it rub off on the next generation, passing it down and keep passing it down. But what if it's like sometimes generations, they do what they can to like have their next generation of kids and their grandkids and their great-grandkids, they do what they can to those people to like, you know, like pass that stuff down that they was teaching them. But it's like sometimes people, they get in contact with the wrong people, and they actions start rubbing off on them, because, you know, negative energy is sometimes it's really strong, and then it like rub off on people, and then they start thinking in like those negative ways how they think, or they think, oh, I'm not finna do this no more, I'm finna try to be like them, just like peer pressure. So I want to get into that too, but we gonna like go to the next question, then we're gonna start getting into peer pressure as well. So how long have you been educating, mentoring, and empowering young people, and what have you learned from them?
So, wow, that's a great question, because sometimes I would say, oh, it was when I got into education. But when I think back, it was so many things that I did with young people that I didn't even realize, or I took for granted and didn't realize that I was kind of doing it. Even growing up in the church, all of a sudden I remember when I started sitting back thinking about, man, we used to go to these camps, Christian camps, and we would, stay overnight and read the Bible, stay up all night and do all these things, go with no electricity. And I remember as an older young adult thinking, this is fun. I could probably be a youth camp director for, Then I just remember, like, even moving on, I remember one time and being at church, and this guy walks up to me, and I was just talking to some young people, and one of the minister who was going to preach that day walks up to me, and he said, there's no way you should be sitting here, you should be teaching young people. And in my mind, I was like, dude, I'm not getting in front of any young people. I don't want to talk, because I was like, they might not like me. I don't want to do all of that. But he prophesied for me to do that. And so before I knew it, I was doing Sunday school, doing different lessons. And then when I came back to teach, it felt natural to come back to the West Side to start my teaching career. So I would say that's been just kind of a part of me, even though maybe I didn't want to accept it at the beginning. And I think that's what we also have to do as family members, as contact people. Let's help people to realize what they've been called to do, because I feel like being in education, being a principal, and I say to our teachers all the time, we were called to this to help those that come into that building. So every kid that walks into Michele Clark, they have come for something that we need to figure out how to give to them.
Right. And then I feel like a lot of people, teaching is getting, teaching is like a last thought for them sometimes, because they get nervous in front of kids. Like you said, like you get in front of them and you think, oh, they might not like me. Because it's like a lot of kids now, a lot of kids seek attention because they don't have attention at home. So it's like they go to school and they fiend for attention and stuff like that. So it's like they'll have like a substitute teacher. They wouldn't treat that substitute teacher how they would treat the teacher that's there all the time, because they like, oh, they're new, they don't know what they're doing, we finna try to like push their buttons and stuff like that. And a lot of people are scared of that, and some people, it's like adults have anxiety too, and like they have like where they feel like, oh, I don't want to get in front of these kids and they make fun of me. It's like even though they grown, they still have feelings and they still have emotions, so they still gonna feel like the hate that these kids throwing off. And sometimes it's not even hate, they just trying to be funny, or they just being kids and stuff like that. So I think that too pushed like people away from like being a teacher or like being a counselor or working with kids.
Yeah, and it takes a lot to do this job. This is not, I would never tell anybody, go be a teacher, go be a counselor, go be a principal. It takes a lot. It takes a lot of patience. It takes a lot of love. But one of the things that I will say, that it takes a lot of communication, and then I go back to celebrating your small milestones, because as a teacher, there'll be some times that something's going to happen that you're going to be like, I didn't do well in this class. As a principal, some days I go home and say, that wasn't the best day for all of my students, or that wasn't the best day for all my teachers. But because I'm able to celebrate some of the milestones, I'm able to say, oh, but this didn't happen. Oh, but this happened and we enjoyed it. And so you have to be able to do that in order to keep motivating yourself to keep going.
Yeah, so it's like if they do something and then you like brush it off like, well, okay, then they gonna feel like what they did isn't enough. Then they gonna try to push to do something else, and then you gonna ignore it, and then they gonna like get like real unmotivated, and then they gonna start being like, oh, nobody cares, so I'm not gonna keep doing it. So they feel like the support of themselves is not enough. They feel like they need everybody else's approval, and then that push them away from what they doing, because they feel like they the only ones supporting them, and they need other support too. But like people can't see it, because they don't just say, oh, I want your support. They do stuff to like let you see that they need your support. And it's like if like the people don't pay attention, then they want to like push away from like doing doing certain stuff.
Yeah, if you can't read the signals when I'm asking for help, you'll never know that's what I'm asking for. So if I'm acting out because I feel like that's the only way I can get attention at home, then when I come to school, I got to act out to get attention. And so that goes back to me saying we need to figure out how to celebrate the milestones at home as well. But as teachers, we need to be teachers and administration and everything. We have to continue to figure out how do I build a relationship with every student that walks in here, and then how do I help them to understand my expectations, and how do I get to understand their needs, and how do I get them to understand my needs, because as a teacher, as an educator, I have needs as well. And so I want to make sure that we're able to bring those together so that we can grow together. But I think sometimes the need is here and my need is here, and we don't some kind of way bring them together so that we can work together.
Right. Okay, now I want to talk about this event that we're having on December 17th that will be held at Melody. And it is an elementary school, 3937 West Wilcox Street. And we are accepting donations, which are different toys, coats, clothes, you know, gloves and scarves and stuff like that. And if you will feel like making any type of donations, you can contact us at 773-287-5821, or you can email us at westsidecommunitystakeholders@gmail.com. And now I will show Michele Clark's website, and if Mr. Anderson would like to speak about it, he can.
Yeah, you know, this website, our website, which is micheleclark.org, is forever changing. We got some oldies on there. We got some new ones on there. But one of the things that we look at in making it change is how do we keep alive? How do we keep it fresh? How do we keep it where everybody's able to see themselves? I think for everybody likes to see themselves on screen, celebrated once again. And so how do we get new pictures? So we're always looking for pictures, always trying to get students whenever they're out together, take some pictures, give them to us. We put them on our Twitter page. We put them on our Instagram page. But we want to always make sure that we're showing the great things that come out of Michele Clark. Because if we don't do that, as my granddad said, nobody's going to toot your horn unless you do it for yourself. And so our webpage and all of our social medias are ways that we can toot our horn about great things that happen at Michele Clark.
Okay. Excuse me. So why should we encourage young people to be vaccinated?
Wow, so vaccination, I know there's been a lot of controversy on the vaccination. I know that there are many people who say, no, I'm not going to do it for whatever their reasons are. But when I think about the vaccination, I also think about how different things have evolved. So at one point in our lives, and maybe not our lives, because maybe, you know, I'm young with you, but in those older people's lives, I'll say, there was a time that they had the measles, whooping cough, the chicken pox, and all those things that were killing people. And so because they were killing people, they had to start doing vaccinations. And it took years for everybody to start getting it, where we just said, these are the shots we need for this. And I think the more we think that the virus is just going to disappear, the more we're fooling ourselves. But I think that it has restricted us in so many ways. It's made us lock doors where we can't communicate with each other. It's made us have been stuck in the house. It's stifled our voice where we aren't able to do as much and get out as much. And so if the vaccination is going to be able to help us to live our lives, to be able to grow in who we are, I'm for it. Because I think young people are being cut off by not being able. So this is another piece that is cutting their life off as it relates to just some of the things that we do. And I don't have a problem that we're all wearing a mask, but someday I want to be like mask-free, so that we're back. But once again, I take you back to, at one point, you know, the chicken pox, the whooping cough, the measles, and all of those things had to have vaccinations for us to start living better. And so I feel like this is another piece for us to start living better, because it's going to keep doing different variances. And so how do we get a hold of it to do that?
So you lived through those times of those?
No, I told you I was too young to do that. That was,
right.
Yeah, it's the older people. So anybody like probably in their older ages would know from being on this. But if you think about all the things that how science has developed. When we talk about STEM school, that's why I'm so excited about us being a STEM school, because when you think about cancer, when you think about HIV and AIDS, and all those things, how they develop, there's always somebody creating medicines and trying different things to see how we combat it, to stop people from dying. And so I look at this vaccination as another piece where people are looking to say, how do we stop people from dying, as another alternative.
And like you said about like it stopping, like how everything went, it was like this like the pandemic and stuff, it had a real big impact on like a lot of people, because like when it happened like to the 8th graders, it like cut off a lot of stuff for us. Like we didn't get to have a luncheon, we didn't get to have a ribbon pinning, we didn't get to have a real graduation, we didn't get to experience our first year of high school. We didn't understand, we didn't really get to have the real high school experiences. And it's like now that we back, we still don't, but you try to do what you can to like make it feel like it's normal, even with it really not being normal. You know, like having the different events and, you know, having like the movie nights and stuff like that we do at school. And it's like you trying your best to like make us feel like it's normal, but it really never will be. And it's like that's how we feel all the time, because it's like we missed out on a lot of stuff. And then it's like really hurtful to us, because like we didn't get to experience what everybody else experienced. And everybody like, oh, our freshman year was the best year. We came in there and Michele Clark, we did a whole lot of stuff and all of this, and then it's like we look at it like dang, like we didn't even get to see all that. So it's like when we see them talk about it, like we start feeling bad and stuff like that. And then with the 8th grade graduation, people always talk about, oh, luncheon was the best day of my whole middle school experience. Luncheon was the best. We had went out with other schools and we went on a boat and we had this and this and that, and ribbon pinning and our graduation and our 8th grade field trip and stuff like that. So it's like we feel like this pandemic like ruined us like a lot, but it's like it did a lot of good, and it did a lot of a whole lot of bad. But it was like sometimes these people did need this time off.
Yeah, I will tell you this: we will never be the same, because many of us have lost loved ones or know of people who have passed away because of COVID. But we will never be the same. But the charge, and this is what I try to charge everybody with, is how do we make a new normal? So maybe graduation is like what we know. So how do we change that? How do we still create something? But to do it, I go back to empowering young people that we have to hear their voice. So how do I get you to think out of the box and say, let's create something that's never been, and enjoy it? Right. And I think that's what we have to do in schools now. We can't always rely on saying, well, we've always read ABC book and we've always did addition this way. But how do I challenge you to think outside of that and create a new normal? Right. And in doing that, I'm pushing you to think beyond what we always just did. And so it will be some hit and misses. So there'll be some points where we're like, we got it. That was great. And there'll be some where we're like, that wasn't fun. But I think that if we don't push you guys to think, you'll always want to live off of what someone else did. So they always graduated at, Michele Clark Auditorium. So we wanted to graduate. No, so now let's figure out how that looks differently. They did the prom this way. So how do we make that look different? And so when you think about even like artists who do videos and all that, they're always trying to do something different to beat somebody else in their artistry. Right. And so how do we push you guys to do that same thing is always my challenge with that for you. Right.
So what services are available for young people that need help or just need someone to encourage and support them?
Yeah, so for services, especially, I'll talk about Michele Clark, then I'll talk about some of our partners. But for us, we have social workers that are full-time with us. We have a youth intervention specialist that's there to do some things. We have our counselors, and we have our restorative leads also, because we want to try to give enough support outside of the classroom. Because, of course, as your teachers are still trying to do as much as they can in the classroom, we want to be able to see how we support them and support students as well. But when you start thinking about like our partners, we have partners that bring in social work as well. We have partners that bring in post-secondary opportunities. We have partners that bring in, I'll give a great example. We have churches as partners that come and pray. So Every Monday for like 3-4 Mondays straight, they came and they prayed around the building just to give us. We have our parent university where the parents went and took grief counseling classes to help students in the midst of loss. And so that's something that we've never done, but what we have to do and continue to do is say, there's a hole there, how do we fill it? There's a need there, how do we make that happen? And so once again, that goes back to empowering youth to talk, because as you tell us what that hole is, it's our job to then try to fill it and then try to make you better from it.
Okay. So, if you are just tuning in, our guest tonight on the show is Principal Anderson, and we are discussing how to educate, engage, and empower young people from high-risk communities. So, we've run a little, out of time. We wanted to talk more, and I had more questions, but we kind of ran out of time, so we have to wrap it up. We would like to thank our viewers for watching. And for additional information about our Youth Council, please contact us at 773-287-5821 and ask for Miss Princess. Thank you, and tune in next week, same time, same station.